Peace and love, black family. Dr. Umar Johnson. You are watching On the Lookout TV.
That's why the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy that we built, it's going to be an unapologetically African institution.
Yes. Yes.
Happy to be nappy all day. And I want all my mothers in here to hear me. After we open up the boys' school, we got to open up the Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Girls Academy. Our princess. But I need you to know that when your daughter shows up at my school, she better show up with her own hair. Because at Anna Douglas Amy Garvey Academy, it won't be a perm on campus. It won't be an extension on campus. It won't be a straight and cold on campus. It won't be a Beyonce Lee on campus. That's right. She might have an afro, she might have a Caesar, she might have twisties, she might have a blowout, but it's going to be all hers. Well, how you going to tell my daughter how to win? I'll tell you why. Because black women spend more money on beauty products than the women in the race with our planet put together. Why do you spend more money on looking good than the other female? Because you're the most insecure about your beauty. It's going to get real funny.
Umar Johnson, pleasure to have you on here. First off, more power to you and all the positive things you're doing to uplift our people. For those who aren't familiar with you and your work, can you reintroduce yourself?
Sure. Dr. Umar Johnson, Doctor of Clinical Psychology, Certified School Psychologist, and Principal, author of the book Psychoacademic Holocaust, the Special Education and ADHD Wars Against Black Boys, founder of the National Independent Black Parent Association, as well as Team Pan-African, the international movement for the independence and protection of African people. And I am former Minister of Education of Marcus Garvey's UNIA, blood relative to Frederick Douglass. And I'm just a Pan-Africanist freedom fighter.
Okay. Now, you're actually in town to lecture on the psychoacademic war against black boys. Can you speak on that and what's actually going on?
Yes, the psychoacademic war against black boys is basically a 6-stage process of marginalization and oppression of African-American male children. It starts with miseducation. It goes into special education. From there, it goes into psychiatric medication. Then it goes into juvenile incarceration, which leads to psychological frustration. And stage 6, the final stage, is premature extermination, normally at the hands of another black male suffering the same marginalization and disenfranchisement from the white power structure.
Okay. I spoke with rapper D1. He's a former middle school teacher. He spoke on some of the things that he observed from other teachers that need to be fixed with them to properly educate our young brothers and sisters. You're a former middle school teacher. With education being one of the weaknesses in the black community, primarily with black boys, what do you feel needs to be done to ensure that our young brothers and sisters receive the education they deserve?
Well, first of all, you have to have teachers that care about the students. A lot of teachers are going to work just for the paycheck. I know that firsthand because I was a teacher, and I saw how many of them were coming on Monday, and they'd be like, oh, I can't wait till it's Friday. You know, they just ready to go home and be paid. You got to have teachers who care about these young men and young women. You also have to have parents that are understanding how crucial they are to their child's educational success. School is not daycare. You know, you don't just drop your kids off and say, good. The school and the principal could have them for the next 8 hours. You have to understand that as soon as they come home from school, before they go to school, it's your job to edify their brain, to challenge them, to ask them what they're learning, to get involved, to have a relationship with the teachers. We need all this stuff to happen. I think parents and teachers that care, that's honestly all a student really needs, man. These students are capable. Like, they are not dummies. They are not incapable of learning. They just need an environment around them that's helping to ensure their success.
With you being a former school principal, what other solutions need to be made within the school systems to proper educate our young brothers and sisters?
Well, first of all, the reason why the children are failing is because public school was designed for black children to fail. The proper education of the black child is a revolutionary undertaking. If you properly educate a black boy, you put him in a situation where he can challenge the white male for political economic domination of the society. So you have to make sure the schools fail, because if the schools don't fail, white supremacy might. So you have to make sure the schools are dysfunctional in order for white supremacy to remain functional. The educated, unapologetic, alpha black male child is the most serious risk to the future of white supremacy. The Denmark VZs, the Nat Turners, the Gable Process, the black men who are willing to give their life for a principle, that is the most feared human being in the white supremacist world. So they have to make sure that public school is around to, number one, fail the black child, to make sure he's unfit to participate in the society, but also to teach him to be loyal to his oppressor. Public school, above all, socializes our children to identify with their oppressors. You see, the national anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance, the different songs, the holidays, the whole structure of public education is to teach you to identify with your oppressor. It does not teach you to question him or to criticize, and it definitely does not prepare you to snatch power from him. So public school prepares you for that place that the power structure has predetermined that you are to occupy.
All right. Now, you're currently in works of building your own school. If anybody was interested in supporting, how can they do so?
Yes, they can support the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. They can donate online, GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. They can also mail in their donation, payable to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, PA 19132. Okay, they can also send a resume if they're interested in working at the school, fdmgresumes@gmail.com.
Okay. Now, one of the misconceptions about you is that you're a racist and a homophobe because you're so passionate about uplifting the black community. Can you shed light on the fact that you don't discriminate in your line of profession as a school psychologist?
Well, as a school psychologist, I specialize in children, and I work with any child. As far as being called a racist and a homophobe, well, that's white supremacy loves to castigate people who does not go along with his agenda. Homosexuality has a population control agenda for the black community. So if you don't support homosexuality, you get castigated because America needs you to accept homosexuality, okay, as natural and normal, so they can keep on pushing it to reduce the amount of babies that we make, okay? Because 2 men can't have a child, 2 women can't have a child. And homosexuality is one of those strategies to reduce the black population rate. But I don't hate black homosexuals. They still my brothers and sisters. I still love them, but I don't agree with the lifestyle, and I'm not going to push it. And my question has always been and will forever be, give me one positive advantage that is going to accrue to the black community with the free and open proliferation of their lifestyle. I haven't had anybody yet tell me how that's going to help us. I am a Pan-African pragmatist. I look for the pragmatic value in anything. How is this going to help us? We already don't have enough black women getting married. We already have black family dysfunction. We already ain't got enough black males taking on these sisters as a responsible mate. Now you're going to bring homosexuality into the equation. It's going to be even worse. You cannot be for the black family and be for sexual confusion. The two are mutually exclusive. As far as being called a racist, I can't be a racist. Racism is a group system of power and privilege that is exercised and implemented by one group that has the ability to disenfranchise the other. In order for me to be racist, black people have to be so organized and in control of institutions that we can disadvantage white people or other non-black people whenever we feel like it. You don't own any institutions. I don't own any institutions. How can I be racist? Racism is systemic. It is systemic bias. It is a systemic program implemented by an entire people against another entire people. Black people are not organized, number one, and we don't own any institutions, number two, so there's no way I can be racist. A black person can have a prejudiced attitude, which I would consider intelligence. We've been dealing with white folks for over 500 years. If you don't exercise your prejudice in dealing with white folks, it could cost you your life. So to be prejudiced as an African, I think, is to be intelligent, because I'm not going amongst white folks and not use my history and study of them to benefit my interaction with them. It would be ridiculous not to. You see, so you can be prejudiced. You can have an emotional or intellectual bias towards white folk, but you cannot disadvantage those white folks. On the flip side, if a white person does not like you, They can get you fired from your job. They can get you locked up. They can get you killed by the police. Even a poor white person has connections to rich white people that rich black people don't even have. So even a poor white person has much more social and systematic power than you ever could. Black people cannot be racist. And it's amazing that we're always getting charged with being a racist when we have never systematically enslaved white folks. We have never systematically dehumanized white folks. We have never systematically Jim Crowed white folks. We have never systematically committed genocide against white people. But yet we're always being accused of being a racist. That's what you call political projection. I'm going to put onto you what is really an accurate descriptor of me, so I can trap you up and distract you in having to defend and explain yourself all the time while I continue to implement my agenda, which is why I don't get into arguments about whether I'm a racist or a homophobe. I don't pay it no mind, because that's another tactic to keep me caught up in defending myself. So I never get back to my work. I'm unapologetic. So whatever people feel, they can feel it. I got a job to do.
All right. You're related to the late, great Frederick Douglass, right?
Yes.
The late Honorable Marcus Garvey actually named the first Star Line ship after Frederick Douglass, which was the SS Frederick Douglass, right?
Right.
For those who ain't familiar with garveyism, can you break it down?
Garveyism is the highest stage of Pan-Africanism. Nothing Marcus Garvey taught was original. He borrowed it all from the Pan-Africanist founding fathers who came before him. But Marcus Garvey is considered the father of Pan-Africanism because he gave Pan-Africanism his first great movement. That's why he's considered the father. He did not invent it. He reinvented it. He did to Pan-Africanism what Michael Jordan, for lack of a better comparison, did to basketball. He didn't invent basketball. He reinvented it. Garveyism simply states, as Africa goes, so goes all African people. You cannot work for your uplift and not simultaneously work for the uplift of the mother continent, because her respect automatically shadows and is projected to her children. Number two, we identify as African family first. African identity is very important to us. Being African is more important than religion. It's more important than culture. It's more important than political affiliation. Being African is primary. Okay? Number three, we believe in African racial pride. We proud to be African. Okay, very proud to be African. We believe in independent political and economic power, so we do not take handouts from any other race. What is to be done for black people must be done by black people. We believe in African self-determination, no white participation in anything that we do. We believe that your image of God should look like you. We also believe that the international government and homeland for all African people should be centralized in Africa. Why give away the richest piece of real estate when it was handpicked for you by God?
All right. Not too long ago, we had NFL star player Colin Kaepernick protest by not paying homage to the national anthem due to the injustice towards blacks and people of color. Recently, we had Terrence Crutcher, who was unarmed, first tased, then gunned down in Tulsa, Oklahoma by officers Tyler Turbo and Betty Shelby. You familiar with this incident that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yes, I'm not intimately familiar, but I'm pretty familiar with it. And as far as Colin Kaepernick, I salute him. I salute him because he didn't have to do that. To stand up against white supremacy, being a marquee athlete, I mean, he's not just a bench player. You know, he's a superstar black quarterback in the NFL. He just played in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. So I support and salute Colin Kaepernick for that. It's a shame that so many other athletes did not join him. He's probably going to suffer because of that. Okay? His career might be cut short. He may never get another contract. But I will always honor and respect him because he stood up like a man. He stood up like a man. He definitely calculated the risks involved, and he took them anyway. Okay, that's what King did. That's what Malcolm did. That's what Garvey did. You understand? They calculated the risks, understood that I'm outnumbered. I might not achieve this, but the man in me requires that I do what is right. And that's what Colin Kaepernick did. So I can't wait to buy one of his jerseys as long as he still has some.
All right. With it being clear that we're not receiving the protection nor justice, what should we do as a community?
Well, several things you got to do. Number one, you got to publicly condemn Obama. White people are not going to take you seriously as long as you keep on protecting the president. They can't. He's the chief executive of the country, and y'all want to keep defending him. So in defending him, you defend us. So they're going to keep on killing, keep on shooting. It's not going to stop because black people still defending Obama. So as long as you defend Obama, you still give white people the right to kill you because they know you're only going to go so far in your revolt and so far in your retribution. Okay. Along with that, we have to build a serious diplomatic relationship with Africa because we need African countries to start speaking up. If you notice, not a single African country speaks up for the black predicament. None of them do. Contrast that with the Chinese. Contrast that with the Arab. Contrast that with the East Indian. Those nations will regularly speak up for oppressed members of their race around the world. Blacks have nobody to speak up for them, so we got to build a diplomatic relationship. Number 3, we have to exercise economic empowerment. We have to build our own financial institutions. It doesn't matter how many black businesses you have if those black businesses are putting their money in white banks. Buy black, support black business. But where are the black businesses keeping their money? In the white banks, because we don't have any black banks. So now is the time for what? Black community leaders, black politicians who mean well, black business persons to come together and build central black banks so we can access wealth to build our own community infrastructure. Because as long as our black business money is in the white bank, it's making more money for the bank than it's making for us. So we have to evolve into black banks. At the time of his death, Marcus Garvey was working on a central black bank.
All right. We see how the system is throwing everything at us by the way of music, television, food, viruses, incarceration, police brutality. I mean, shit, the list goes on. What do we need to do to beat white supremacy?
Unity. White supremacy is beating black people because it is organized. It is more organized than we are. White folks are constantly organizing, coming up with schemes to disadvantage black folks, and then constantly organizing again. We're not organized at all. We're not organized. Until you organize, you are not serious about fighting oppression. A disorganized people will never overcome an organized system of oppression. A disorganized people will never overcome an organized system of oppression. But our problem is the self-hate, the Willie Lynch, the psychological residuals of slavery, the post-traumatic slavery disease that has us more interested in fighting each other than fighting our enemy. Black people would rather fight each other than destroy white supremacy. Yeah. We wake up every day with only 2 ambitions: to outdo the next Negro and to be accepted by white folks. And until we change that mentality, until we change that paradigm, nothing changes. And I'm not very optimistic that we can change it in most of our adults. I think some of us are so far gone, so brainwashed, that there's nothing we can do to change the situation with them. We have to start with the children. I believe in the 70-30 philosophy. 70% of our attention and resources should go to our children. Only 30% of our attention and resources should go to adults. We spend too much time trying to rescue adult Africans as opposed to using that time to rescue African children.
Okay. Recently, there was a former Chicago gang member who spoke on the fact that the government has been dropping crates of guns in black communities.
My name is Leland. I'm broadcasting from Las Vegas, Nevada. And my broadcast today, I'm focusing on the situation in Chicago, man. I'm from Chicago. Born and raised there. I ran those streets in Chicago and changed my life. But I want to kind of make people aware of some things that you don't know, because you never really been out there, then you wouldn't know it. And it's going to be hard to believe, but myself, for a fact, and several others that I ran with know this to be the truth. Growing up in Chicago in the early 90s, this same situation was happening. I've been in Chicago where a person came into my house and knocked on the door to come and get me early in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, and said, come with me, man. It's a crate of guns in the alley. And I got up and ran out there, and sure enough, there was a crate of guns. And during that time when we in it, you're not thinking about where did the guns just come from. You never think about that type of stuff, like where did the guns come from and why are they here? But now that I'm older, I can kind of tell you that it's a diabolical plot. Nothing is stopped. The guns are still there. The guns are still being placed in these different strategic communities. It's a plan. It's not out in Bridgeview. It's not out in, Westmount. They're putting it in the hundreds for sure. Yeah, they're putting it on 55th. They're putting it in Inglewood. 6:30 in the morning, while older people that's at work, you sleep. You're not outside. So, you got the streetwalkers and the people that's out, they hustling and they out all types of day. And yeah, they're the ones that's going to run across them. And who would go and tell the police? I never went to go tell the police when we found some guns. That don't even make sense. Why would you go tell the police? So people are wondering why so much violence. Think about it. You think about this. Okay, the police are locking people up constantly in Chicago every single day. They're taking guns off the street every single day, every day. So how is it that all of these guns just keep appearing? Where are all the guns coming from? Nobody's going to the gun store buying these guns. So where are all these guns? Now, this is another part that you don't know. I was so used to having exotic guns that I thought that was the norm. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying far as, I don't know if you know, are you familiar with guns, but a fully automatic handgun is almost impossible to get. You know what I'm saying? A fully automatic assault rifle, that's not common. It may sound common, but that's not common. A Uzi that's fully automatic, that's not common. So I was so used to having everything in the area that I knew of was fully. It shot fully automatic, fully. So me being 17 and 18 and in my 20s, I was so naive that I believed that's how all guns was. I seen so many different exotic guns on the street running around in different areas with the guys just running around. I thought that was the norm. So now I'm an older gentleman. I'm out here, I switched my life around. I'm living right, So now I cleared my name up and got my record sealed. And I'm going to the gun shop and I'm going to the shooting range, shooting like I'm supposed to. And I go into gun stores and I'm asking for certain guns and they looking at me like I'm crazy. Like I made that gun up. These are guns that I've seen several times in different areas that the gun store is saying, how would that be on the street? That's something that you would have to get specialized, customized. You see what I'm saying? But these guns are on the streets of Chicago. And my point to you is, yeah, we can't try to make an excuse for the kids out there shooting, and it ain't all kids, but we can't make an excuse, but I want you to look at the bigger picture. Where are they getting the guns from? It's not one or two areas. It's not one or two areas. It's everywhere. In the urban community is what I'm telling you. They're not dropping them out there in Hillcrest. They're not gonna be out there. You check in them hundreds. You check on the low end. You check in the heart of the city, in the inner city. That's where they're dropping all the guns at. That's where all the killings is happening at. That's why a lot of innocent people are getting shot, stuff like that. Because of these guns. They got guns that they can't control. They shooting these guns, letting off, man, 100 shots, man, in 30 seconds. These guns are not being bought. They don't have no gun license to buy these guns. So where are they getting the guns from? That's the question. I'm telling you right now. They've been dropping the guns off in crates for years. They've been doing it. I seen it twice in my lifetime. I seen it in 1990, and then I seen it again in 1999. I seen it with my own eyes. You can believe it or not, but that's the honest to God truth. I went out, I seen the guns in the crate myself, and they went out through the whole area. Everybody got this one, grab that one. Let me get that one. I grabbed it. Everybody got them. And that's what they keep doing. That's how the guns keep getting on the streets. That's why the wars don't stop. You see what I'm saying? That's the part that people got to focus on. The gun control, how you gonna control something if you study putting it down there? That's propaganda when they saying this gun control, or we lobbying for gun control. You're not trying to control nothing when you study putting guns out there. They giving it to them. Now they want to give them the guns so they can catch them with the guns. Either they gonna kill somebody with the gun, then they get to lock them up, or they catch them with the gun and they get to lock them up. Either way, it's lose, 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 lose. You see what I'm saying? It's a business for them. It's a business. You know what I'm saying? It's like me wanting to sell a drug, but I got to get you hooked first. You know, it's a business for them. So the more people that they can catch with guns, or the more people that commit crimes with guns, they get to lock them up. To them, it's just a number. They don't care. They don't care who it is. But it's more of the African community that is, you know, we're the victims. And I hate that everything boils down to race and all of that. I'm not a racist, but the truth is the truth. And I'm just telling it how it is. You know what I'm saying? I go to Chicago all the time. But if I go out to Westmount, Illinois, where one of my good white friends live, and I go with him, it's a different community. It's a different community. Ain't nobody running around with no guns. Ain't nobody doing nothing. I go out there, I feel safe. As soon as I go where I grew up at, I'm not getting out the car without no gun, because I don't trust nobody, because everybody around here got a gun. Everybody got a gun. You hear that part? That's the part that matters. Everybody got a gun, from the 14-year-old on up. Everybody got one. They ain't even doing nothing with it. They just got one. Well, how do everybody got all these guns? Where they come from? Right back to that again. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The guns are being deliberately placed, strategically placed in certain communities to target certain individuals. Please pay attention. Please research it. Check it out. Ask some of the OGs who've been around and they'll tell you the same thing, that I'm not lying. I'm just willing to expose it. I'm trying to tell you the truth. It's the truth. They deliberately placing guns in Chicago in different areas. That's why so much shooting. The kids, as a little boy, when you grow up, you want to be a cowboy. You want a gun in your hand. As soon as you get it, you're going to emulate what you're seeing that people in front of you doing. So as soon as you get your hand on that gun, you got an extended clip. Where all these extended clips come from? Where? Where do you think they come from? Just think about it logically. Where do all these automatic weapons come from that's doing all this shooting? Where do they come from? But nobody can go. Chicago don't got no gun stores. Think about that. There is no gun store in the city limits of Chicago. So where are the guns coming from? How do you get bullets? How do you get bullets? Because they dropping off bullets with the guns. That's how. Where they get bullets from? Okay, if I got guns, say I got the guns, where am I gonna get bullets if it's not a gun store in the city of Chicago? That's what I'm trying to show y'all, man. Think about it logically. They don't want us to stop and think, because then if we stop and think, then we gonna be on point. You understand what I'm saying? So, hopefully, this will wake somebody up. Maybe you'll snatch your son up or your nephew or your cousin and you'll talk to him and you'll let them know it's a bigger picture than running around with these gangs, and that stuff ain't gonna last nowhere, you know. I was there, I came up out of it. Everybody won't be so lucky, but today I just want to drop one to grow on y'all, man, that there is a plot and there is a plan, and it's strategically against our communities. So this is signing off from Las Vegas. The truth. This is not no maybe. I think he know what he talking about. I'm telling you the truth. They dropping guns off, man. Deuces.
No city in America has a surveillance system as vast and sophisticated as the one here in Chicago. Cameras big and small seem to be almost everywhere. 10,000 by some estimates. The live footage is watched around the clock at a city command center. Police and fire, and people on the lookout for threats of terrorism. Hundreds of privately owned cameras on office buildings, shops, and restaurants also looped into the system. High-tech software can look at footage, hunting for certain cars or shapes, then sounding alerts. Authorities can find a camera close to where a crime or deadly accident is happening.
We can actually click on a button and the camera will come up instantly.
Some studies say cameras help cut crime substantially. Other research says the drop is slight. The cameras have captured everything from drug deals to bike thefts. In one case, they caught a holiday bell ringer who appeared to be digging his fingers into a charity pot outside a downtown department store. As cameras watch, police show up to arrest the man.
Right now, the death rate in Chicago is over 500. With the government using these tactics to take us out, what advice would you give any of our brothers and sisters on ways not to fall victim to these traps?
Well, first of all, I don't believe all the homicides in Chicago are being carried out by black people. I believe the police are largely responsible for a lot of these homicides. I think they probably also have other ethnic minorities killing people in Chicago. I also would entertain the possibility that the United States government hires private vigilantes, private armies to come into inner cities and help depopulate the inner city of black males. There's no way you can have this many unsolved murders, especially in places like Chicago where you have cameras on every corner. You understand? You have the Big Brother cameras at every corner. How you don't know who committed this murder when the whole community is under surveillance? For example, the same place where the brother got shot, if somebody would have stole something from one of them stores, they would have been arrested. So the camera can see thieves, but the camera can't see killers. I don't believe that. I believe that armed mercenaries are being brought into the inner cities to help expedite the extermination of African people.
Okay. My family's from Africa, but I was born in the States. So I was able to see how black Americans treat Africans and how Africans treat blacks. Not all, but because of how we've been programmed to treat one another. What can we do as Africans and Black Americans to bridge that gap so we can once again view each other as brothers and sisters?
For me, it's about like minds. When you go to Africa, there's some Africans who don't want us there. Sure, I've dealt with nasty, arrogant Africans, and there's Africans who have dealt with nasty, arrogant African Americans. It's all about consciousness. I'm a Garveyite, so when I go to Nigeria, I'm hanging with Garveyites. I go to Senegal, I'm hanging with Garveyites. When I go to South Africa Wednesday for a month, I'm hanging with Pan-Africanists. So for me, you have to meet people who are at your same level of consciousness. There's self-hating Africans, there's self-hating African Americans. So, but my thing is this. I don't need anybody's permission in Africa to be an African. That's number one. So I never go to Africa asking. No, this is my birthright like it is yours. And if you don't believe that, then I'm just not going to be bothered with you. Okay? At the same time, I understand that the only solution for African people, the only threat to white supremacy is revolutionary Pan-African nationalism. I know that's the solution. The international unification of African people with a strong political, economic paradigm that will explode white supremacy. And because I know that that will explode white supremacy, I'm going to work towards that with all my life, all my might, all my energy, and nobody's going to distract me from that, be they African or African American.
Okay. You frequently travel back and forth to Africa. You're headed to Africa soon. Can you speak on any of your past work that you've done in Africa?
Not on camera. There's certain things that we're working on, but the repatriation project would be something big where I'm going to take brothers and sisters there, where we're going to investigate certain African societies to try to begin to lay the foundation for a independent African community for Africans from the West who want to come back home. Basically finishing the work of Marcus Garvey. What he tried to do in Liberia, we're going to pick up from that. Martin Delaney, same thing, whose gravesite I just visited 2 days ago in Ohio, who was Garvey before Garvey. He also began that repatriation community. So I want to finish the work of Martin Delaney and Marcus Garvey by taking brothers and sisters to Africa next year to begin to lay the foundation for an independent community for Africans in the West who want to come home. So that's the main thing. I'm also looking at the possibility of building one of the first Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey academies in Africa. So with the repatriation task force and the FDMG program, those would be the two things that I would open up to the public. There's some other things I'm working on, but those things are not to be said at this time.
Okay. Lastly, I want to speak on marriage. Me, myself, I could be one woman. But if I'm with a female and she brings up the fact that she wants to bring another female in a relationship, I'm going to suggest otherwise. But if she's adamant on it, I may consider it. My question is, what's your take on polygamy, being the fact that a lot of our males are being killed and incarcerated, and our females are receiving more education and starting their own businesses? I want to hear your thoughts on polygamy.
Well, black women outnumber black men in America because of the war against black males. So if you take the emotion out and the selfishness out and the European approach to romance out, you have to consider polygamy, short-term or long-term, in order to help rebuild the African American family. You have to look at it. But at the same time, I don't think anybody should be forced to be a part of any marriage arrangement that they don't agree with. If a sister is against polygyny, then I believe she has a right not to participate in it. I don't think she should be manipulated. On the flip side, if a sister wants another co-wife and you as the husband don't want the co-wife and you prefer to keep the marriage monogamous, I also think that that's not something you should be forced into as well. But I also think that's something that should have been discussed up front. Things like that should get discussed even before you get married. That's too important of a topic to come later. That's like a woman or a man deciding they don't want any children. That's too important of a piece of a marriage or a relationship to not have been discussed up front. But I think to each his own. But we're going to have to consider it in some form if we want to rebuild the community, because we got a lot of single mothers out here with 4+ children who don't have a problem with polygyny because it would help them raise those children. Most of the time we see opposition to polygyny, it's the middle class, well-educated African-American woman who's saying, I'm against it. Rarely do you hear from sisters who are less economically successful. You never get their side. You only hear from educated black women. You never see the microphone in front of sisters who are not as well-educated because they would have a different opinion. But also because of the sisterhood and the stigmatization of a black woman being weak or being a fool or being part of a polygynous arrangement, a lot of sisters who support polygyny in private will never say so in public.
All right. Is there anything you'd like to leave the viewers with before we get out of here?
Nah, I just want to thank everybody for supporting Dr. Umar through all the years. Keep the love coming. Donate to the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar. Second annual Black College and Consciousness Tour coming up for you 11 to 17-year-olds Tuesday morning Every Tuesday, 6 to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we got the Black Parent Teleconference. Free answers to your free questions. Africa Tour coming back up last week in July, first week in August, the 4th annual Dr. Umar Unapologetically African Africa Tour. And if you want to go to Africa with me for 3 months to be a part of that investigative unit, that repatriation task force, that information will be coming out soon as well. One love, one love. Donate to the school 2017. You will see FDMG.
All right, thanks again, bro.
Thank you, my brother.
What up, world? It's your host, Mr. Lookout. If you are satisfied with the outcome of this video and you'd like to support the platform, you can do so by PayPaling odlotv.net@gmail.com. Proceeds will go towards better equipment, travel expenses to further promote positive, informative content and up-and-coming prospects. Until then, stop the violence, spread the love. One love and God bless.